If you've never heard of the law of correspondence, it sounds kind of boring, but it's actually more exciting when you hear what it is. It's one of the universal laws. It came to me this week that I needed to talk about it on an episode. It's one of my favorites. And if you want to better your life, you need to know about this law. And it stands alone, but it works in conjunction with the other laws, particularly with the law of attraction, which is what I've been talking about recently on the podcast. So, with no further ado, let's hear all about this law. In today's episode, I wanted to cover one of the universal laws, which, because I've been talking about manifestation the last couple of episodes, this is related to manifestation. And I love all of the universal laws. I teach 12 of them in the second half Spark School. And I did not know about them until about 4 years ago. I didn't know, I have a clue. And they have made so much sense, and the law of attraction is one of them, and that's the manifestation. That's the one most people know because that's was The Secret. The book The Secret was based on that. And when I first heard it from Oprah, actually, I was like, didn't make sense to me. I just thought it was about finding who you love. I didn't realize it was about actually attracting whatever you want in your life to bring into your life. And so it's just one of the 12 universal laws. And I looked back in my past episodes and I'm surprised I never have talked about the 12 universal laws. So maybe I'll start talking about a few of them. The ones that like really that like when I first learned about them, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. But the the law of correspondence is one that it's like some of these, they're named funny, and it's like, what does that mean? Correspondence is like letter writing. So you don't really can't tell what it means unless you like look it up, but you can Google this stuff and you can learn about them. And I think examples always work really well when people share when they teach about the universal laws. And that's how when I first heard about the universal laws, it was somebody that was giving, it was at an event, and she was covering the universal laws. I don't know if she went over all 12 of them, but she was using examples and scenarios where the law was applied in her life. But they basically, the laws are come from ancient philosophy, ancient rituals, ancient. They've been around, or the beliefs about them have been around, and came from ancient cultures. And it's like spiritual laws. And like one of them is, and it's not called the law of karma, but it's basically karma. It's like, uh, what you sow, you reap. And so that's kind of the law of karma, and that's so true. It's if you're gonna be mean to somebody, it's going to come back and haunt you in some way, shape, or form. So that's an example of one of the spiritual laws. But anyways, the law of correspondence is the according to this principle, there is resonance between our inner and outer worlds. And so what that means is that your inner world, think of your inner world as your spiritual self, and your outer world as your physical self. And so there is resonance between the two of them. So they're a mirror of each other. So our surroundings, our relationships, and our life experiences are mirrors that reflect the states of our minds and our spirits, our consciousness mind. And so what's so powerful about this law of correspondence, just like the law of karma, if you're good, then good will come back to you. It's like what you think, you will attract. So it's very similar. It is used with the law of attraction. So the law of attraction is like you have the power to attract what you want. And this is If you change the inner, you change the outer. And so sometimes people think this law it like the law of attraction includes this, but this is a separate law that complements the law of attraction. And if your inner world is messed up, then you're going to not your outer world is going to reflect that. So you can change your outer world by transforming your inner world. And understanding that means that you manifest things. So the saying as within, so without. And what that means to me is if within is if within is about lack, if within is about fear, if within is about worry, then you'll go without, because those are negative emotions, and the outer world will be a mirror of that. You'll attract fear. As above, so below. As within, so without. So it means, in another way speaking, that physical reality is merely a projection of mind. So the physical reality has to reflect what you think and feel. The outer world does not simply mirror your true best self, it mirrors all the contents of your mind. And many of us aren't operating in our true best self. We strive to, but I bet you know some people that are not the best versions of themselves. And their outer reality probably sucks. So if the contents of your mind are negative thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions, the outer world is going to be a train wreck. If there's confusion within you, there will be confusion around you. If there's chaos inside of you, there will be chaos surrounding you. You can only attract what is already inside of you. So this is so powerful. Sit with that. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a pond and that the physical world is a reflection you see on the surface of the water. If the pond is calm and the surface of the water is still, the reflection you see in it will be serene, clear, and beautiful. So there's an analogy for you. But if waves are kicking up the water, or you throw a stone into it and it gets all choppy, the water, the reflection will become chaotic, disjointed, and muddy. Positive thoughts help you to reflect your desired reality in the external world. But negative thoughts can be like the stone you throw in the water, or a storm disturbing the outer world. You cannot attract peace when all you create is chaos. So now that you understand how the outer world reflects what's happening inside of you, that's amazing insight to have, because it means you can manifest greater control of your life than you might have realized. And so you're like thinking, how can I change my thoughts? And that's exactly what you do. You just start with awareness of how often they're happening, and then start to just switch the game up. Make it a game. I'm going to be as positive as possible and see what starts to change. So mindfully observe your inner world. A lot of us go around mindless about what our thoughts are and how that's affecting us. Know that your thoughts too, these negative thoughts, not only affect your outer world, but before they affect your outer world, they affect your emotions. And so when you have negative thoughts and you have turmoil in your thoughts, it's creating a lot of stress in your body. It's creating facial expressions that aren't going to attract people to your world. And it's just a total bad energy before it even gets to the external world. It's in the mind and in the body, and then goes outside. So don't try to judge what you're observing. because that can cause more negativity, believe it or not. So just try to look at those thoughts without judgment and celebrate yourself for being kind of a detective, that you're like starting to learn how you can change your outer world and be happy about that. So yeah, so then the next step after awareness is accept responsibility for your current beliefs. So whatever is creating those thoughts is based in a belief system. And so you can't play the victim, you can't blame other people. Now, granted, you know, these beliefs might have come from childhood, but ultimately we can't blame anyone, because that's just going to keep us in a negative state. And so that's yeah. And then redirect your focus to positive thoughts. Study these 12 universal laws, learn more about the other ones. What I say about the 12 universal laws is that these are all examples of how the universe is working for you and how it operates. And when you learn to work with it and not against it, it's super powerful. It's like magical. And it's not just the law of attraction, but you want to dig into the roots of how you're being held back in these situations. And you can get past it. But it takes learning about this. It takes understanding. It takes awareness. And it takes action. And I like to say inspired action. And if you're feeling inspired because you're like, oh my gosh, I can actually change my external reality. Wow. You might not have realized that until now. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I say it's simple, but it's not easy, because learning and understanding is simple, but actually taking the action to be diligent and to not revert back, because the negative thoughts are just habits. And it's like these thoughts on autopilot, and it's just going and going and going. And so you have to be very diligent. And that's where the difficulty comes in. Is it like, gosh, these thoughts keep coming up. But it's like that whack-a-mole game. You got to keep hitting them, and eventually they won't come back up. But I that's one of the things I teach my students, is how to rewire their brain and those thoughts. And it's kind of like brainwashing, but it's a good brainwashing. It's the kind of brainwashing you want to do, because wouldn't you want to be brainwashed if you know you could change your outer world to be better? And if you know you were causing your outer world by your thoughts that are in your head right now. So it's truly a gift to learn this stuff. So this is my gift to you, is to introduce you to this if you're not aware of it. And if you are aware of it, then great. Learn more, get deeper into it and practice it. And you'll find a lot more joy in your life. I guarantee it. So on that note, I am stopping recording and then finishing packing, because I am going on a trip, and I'm going to be with some people that all know about these 12 spiritual laws. I'm excited to hang with them and talk about all this stuff. So have a great week. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into the Living Your Spark Second Half podcast. If you'd like to watch my guest interviews, you can find the video version of this podcast on my Not Your Average Grandma YouTube channel. Also, you can check out what I have going on at the moment by going to my website at notyouraverage.grandma.com, or find me on Instagram or Facebook at notyouraverage.grandma. If you like this episode, please mention it to a friend, and don't forget to leave a review so I know the topics you like best and can bring you more of that content in upcoming episodes. Last but not least, remember to always listen to that inner voice that will never steer you wrong, and make living from the most sparked place possible your biggest priority. When we do that, we make the world a better place.